On our so-called family vacation, my in-laws made sure I was excluded. Literally, I was told to sit alone at every meal like some unwanted stranger. When I asked my husband, he just shrugged. It's how they are. I smiled and replied, then it's time I show them how I am. By morning, what I did had them scrambling in fear. Looking back, the signs were glaring. Sarcasms, cold stares, being treated like a guest in my own relationship. But I brushed them off. I loved Lucas. I thought loyalty and patience would earn me a place in his family. I was wrong. They never did. Instead, that family trip to Hilton Head, South Carolina, turned into one of the most humiliating experiences of my life. We had barely checked in at the resort. The place was picture perfect. White sand, swaying palms, an ocean breeze like a dream. For once, I was genuinely hopeful. Maybe, just maybe, I thought they'd finally treat me like family, that we'd laugh together, share meals, maybe even make a happy memory for once. But I couldn't have been more wrong. That very first evening, we went to a fancy restaurant. The waiter led us to a long, beautifully arranged table for our whole group. As I reached to pull out a chair next to Lucas, my father-in-law, Ethan interrupted sharply. This can't be right, he muttered, shaking his head disapprovingly. She doesn't sit with us. She needs her own table, he added bluntly. I blinked, certain I'd misunderstood. Excuse me? I said. My mother-in-law? Beatrice didn't even glance up from her menu. That's just how our family does it, she replied flatly. I looked at Lucas, hoping he'd defend me, remind them I was his wife, not some outsider. Instead, he sighed and gave that same tired shrug. That's just how they are, he mumbled, their way. And so, I sat alone. I should have walked away that very moment, but I stayed, convincing myself it was some odd family ritual, just a one-time quirk, but it never stopped. The next morning, I dressed early, thinking I'd finally be included. I headed to the hotel restaurant, heart oddly hopeful, but the table was empty. I messaged Lucas, asking where they were. No reply. I wandered the halls for nearly 30 minutes before spotting them, seated, eating, laughing like I didn't exist. I approached, stunned and hurt. Why didn't anyone tell me you were here already? Ethan glanced at me, unimpressed. Figured you'd catch up eventually, he said. Beatrice didn't even flinch. It's just how our family operates, she added coolly. I looked to Lucas for help, but he was focused on his plate, pretending not to notice. That was the moment the truth slammed into me. I was never really one of them. I never stood a chance. And Lucas, he was never on my side either. The rest of the vacation unfolded in the exact same cruel rhythm. Every meal was eaten in silence, at a separate table like an unwelcome guest. Every group activity happened without me, always by accident. They enjoyed a private yacht tour, without a single word to me. I only found out from Instagram stories, smiling faces I wasn't invited to join. They sipped wine at a luxury tasting event I never even heard about. I only realized when I saw them in the hotel lobby, laughing, dressed up, walking right past me. I confronted Lucas that night. You didn't even think to include me? I asked, struggling to sound steady. He just sighed, like I was overreacting. It's just how they are, he repeated. That was all he ever said. On day 4, I stopped trying. I stopped begging to be included. I stopped asking to be seen. They wanted me gone. I'd give them what they asked for, but they had no idea what I was planning. Because I had my own way. That night, while they toasted their flawless family trip, I slipped away and started quietly unraveling their plans. I wasn't just sitting at a separate table anymore. I was about to disappear. and take their comfort with me. I opened my emails, found the booking codes, and began the process. Because here's the twist. I had booked every last thing. The hotel reservation, under my name, the rental car, charged to my personal card, dinner bookings, all under my name, that dreamy spa day Beatrice bragged about nonstop. Yep, that was mine too. I erased every last one of their plans. One click at a time, I deleted their entire vacation, hotel rooms, canceled, rental vehicle, out of reach, waterfront dinner, vanished. I called the spa and told them Beatrice wouldn't be needing her appointment. Then I packed up, took the car, and disappeared. As they toasted their picture-perfect vacation, I was already miles away toward Georgia. I reserved a luxury suite, devoured room service, and watched the sea from my private balcony, undisturbed. Meanwhile, Hilton Head was about to erupt in chaos. I woke up in Georgia, rested, calm, and utterly free. Sea breeze curled through the room as I sipped hot coffee, feet up, watching the tide rise and fall. Then my phone buzzed nonstop. Lucas. I let it go to voicemail. Then Beatrice called. And then Lucas tried again. Finally, Ethan's name popped up. I silenced my phone and chuckled. They finally figured it out. I pictured the exact moment it all sank in. Ethan stumbling out of bed, half asleep, greeted by a stern hotel manager knocking on the door. "Sir, we're afraid your reservation has been canceled." Beatrice, stretching luxuriously, reaching for her phone, only to find a flood of cancellation alerts lighting up her screen. Lucas, groggy and confused, massaging his temples as his mom's complaints turned into a full-blown meltdown. They were officially homeless at the resort. No transportation, no reservations. I sipped my latte and enjoyed the chaos from afar. A few hours later, curious about the meltdown, I opened my inbox. What caught my eye was a series of messages from Lucas. "You disappeared? Where the hell are you? What did you do? Everything's falling apart. Fix this now, I mean it." A moment later, he called. I decided to pick up his call, just for fun. "You left us? Seriously? Where the heck are you?" he shouted. I said, "Relaxing in Georgia." Silence. Then he continued, "You abandoned us on vacation?" I could hear voices in the background. Beatrice was yelling at the hotel staff. Ethan was swearing under his breath. "Tell me you didn't cancel at all," he finally asked, his voice lower now, like he still couldn't quite believe it. "I did, all of it," I replied calmly. He gasped like I'd just slapped him. "You humiliated us. You left us to scramble like fools," I said. "Ah, that sounds inconvenient." Lucas went quiet. Finally hearing his own indifference echo back at him, I pressed on. "You made it clear I didn't belong, so I removed myself completely," he shouted. "This is crazy. Come back and fix this." I couldn't help but laugh. "No, Lucas, that's not happening." And with that, I ended the call. I heard later how spectacularly things fell apart. With no rooms left, they frantically searched for anywhere to sleep. They ended up in a grimy roadside motel with buzzing lights and a mildew stench, 20 minutes from the beach. Without a rental, they were stuck calling overpriced Ubers. And Hilton Head isn't exactly known for a booming rideshare scene. The surge pricing drained them fast. That fancy dinner Ethan wouldn't shut up about for weeks. Fully booked, they ended up at a loud tourist surrounded by screaming kids and bad seafood. Beatrice had a meltdown at the spa when her name wasn't on the list. She demanded they make room for her. They refused. Lucas gave me a full report in furious texts. "You really ditched us?" Mom's livid, totally embarrassed herself at the spa. Dad's flipping out over dinner. "Hope you're proud of yourself." I was absolutely thrilled. I figured that was the worst they'd get. A minor disruption, a dose of karma. But then things took an unexpected turn. A few hours passed, and my phone vibrated again. Only this time, it wasn't Lucas. It was a message from Julia, Lucas's cousin. "Hey, just wanted to say I heard what happened and honestly, good for you." I furrowed my brows, reading it again. Julia and I got along, but we weren't exactly close. "What are you talking about?" Her reply made my blood run cold. "They did the same thing to Lucas's ex-wife." I jolted upright. Lucas's ex-wife. He always said his first marriage ended amicably. No drama, just growing apart. I never thought to question it, but now everything made sense. What exactly happened? She rep. Lucas's ex-wife joined a family vacation. They humiliated her. Same table stunt, same silent treatment. She left midway, divorced him weeks later. My chest tightened. She continued, "I thought you already knew, but seeing it happen again, I realized he kept it from you." She continued, "No, he never did. If he had, I would have never agreed to come. I would have realized this wasn't tradition. It was abuse disguised as family routine." And Lucas? He had watched it unfold. Again, and he let it happen anyway. That night, Lucas called once more. This time, I picked up. "Fix this now," he demanded, voice strained. "No, Lucas," I said evenly. "You don't know what my parents are like." "Oh, I understand just fine," I cut in. "This wasn't tradition. This was power play. You knew how they'd treat me, and you let them." He didn't respond. And then, "Who told you?" "Gotcha." I let out a dry laugh. "So it's true, she wasn't the first. And I'm not either." Another silence. Then Lucas finally let out a sigh. "Okay, maybe my parents are tough, but their intentions are good. Lucas, they've never treated me like family." He paused, like he couldn't deny it, and that moment sealed it. He wouldn't stand up for me. He never once did. "Just come home," he said. "We can fix this." I looked out at the sea, listening to the waves as they rolled in. "No," I repeated firmly. "I already made things right. For myself." Then I ended the call. After I hung up, I kept staring at my screen, thoughts spinning. Lucas had always known. He had watched this happen before, yet he led me straight into it. I wasn't just angry. I was finished. I poured another drink, leaned back, and tried to enjoy the quiet. But something kept scratching at the back of my mind. If he lied about his past, what else was hidden? I had to find out the truth. I went to Facebook and searched her name, Vanessa, his ex. I never thought I'd need to, but now I needed the truth. Her page was locked down, but I checked her mutuals, hoping someone would talk. Then I found her sister, Diana, and she wasn't private. One post from 2 years ago, right after the divorce, caught my eye. "Don't let a man's family be the reason you lose yourself. Never let them make you feel small just to stay." My sister deserved a man who would stand by her. We all saw it coming. We promised ourselves, never again. My chest tightened with dread. I kept scrolling and stumbled upon a comment from Julia, Lucas's cousin, the one who had warned me. If only she had listened. But at least now she's finally free. What didn't she hear? I sat frozen, my pulse thundering in my ears. I didn't know whether to cry or scream. I could reach out to Diana. I could finally ask her the truth. But was I ready for what she might say? I stared at my phone, paralyzed. Then I exhaled and typed slowly. "Me. Hi. I know this is out of nowhere, but I need to talk to you." She messaged back almost instantly. Diana didn't hesitate. I figured it was only a matter of time. Her words landed like a blow. "You know who I am?" Yes, we knew it was coming. I stared at her message, hands trembling. "Who's we?" Vanessa was just one of many, and she wasn't the last. The last. I couldn't breathe. What do you mean by that? Lucas has done this before, so have his parents. You're not the first, and if you're reaching out now, you definitely won't be the last. I felt like I'd swallowed poison. This wasn't a fluke. It was a cycle. It was like a family ritual. Testing, isolating, breaking every woman who dared to join. They treated us like intruders, disposable, and Lucas just stood by every damn time. Why didn't anyone warn me? I panicked. She hesitated for a moment and then said, "We tried, but Lucas always controls the narrative. He says his family's just different, that his exes were too sensitive. Did he say Vanessa was the issue?" I remembered. He absolutely did. He said she was high maintenance, that she couldn't fit in, that she overreacted. Vanessa wasn't the problem. She was the victim, just like me. Or I would have if I hadn't left. But that changed. Sleep never came that night. The years I gave him, all wasted. It ached like a bruise pressed too hard. But something else didn't sit right. A strange itch in the back of my mind I couldn't name. Why had Lucas been so frantic? What was he really afraid of? Then, at exactly 6 a.m., it all made sense. A message from an unfamiliar number flashed on my screen. "Ma'am, this is Officer Daniels from Hilton Head PD. We need to speak with you regarding a missing person report filed in your name." I jolted upright, nearly sending my phone flying. A missing person report? Seriously? I fumbled to call him back, my thoughts racing. The second he answered, I burst out, "I'm not missing. I'm fine." Silence. Then, "So you left of your own accord, ma'am?" "Yes, of course I did. My husband's been blowing up my phone. He knows where I am." The officer let out a long sigh. "Your husband stated you left unexpectedly and haven't returned his messages. He said he feared for your well-being." My jaw locked so tightly it ached. This wasn't about safety. It was control, pure and simple. Lucas's concern had never been about my safety. He just wanted control. Like always, I drew in a long breath, steadying myself. "Officer, I am not in danger. I'm currently staying in Georgia. By choice, I left Hilton Head because I needed to. I'm not missing. And I do not consent to any contact from my husband." There was a brief silence on the line. "Would you like to file a no-contact order against him?" I hesitated for just a second. Then I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "Yes, please do." That moment, Lucased the first legal crack in the illusion of our marriage. Less than an hour later, my phone lit up with a message that made my stomach turn. It was Beatrice. "How dare you humiliate us so publicly?" I burst into laughter. I didn't even bother replying. Then came another. "You dragged the police into this. Do you even realize what you've done?" I rolled my eyes, sipped my coffee, and kept scrolling. The texts started flooding in like a broken dam. Beatrice. "We welcomed you. You spat in our faces. You're tearing this family apart." And then came the threat cloaked as concern. "Come back, or Lucas won't be so kind next time." My blood ran cold. It wasn't even disguised. It was a warning wrapped in menace. I thought it was just manipulation, just their usual toxic routine. But now I saw it for what it truly was. They weren't just trying to embarrass me. They wanted to destroy me from the inside out. And if I didn't act now, Lucas would finish what they'd started. That text wasn't a bluff. It was a vow. I felt it. The moment everything turned. This wasn't indifference anymore. This was full-blown war, and they expected me to surrender quietly, but I wasn't going to play their game. Not anymore. I steadied myself, took a breath, and replied with one sharp sentence. "Perfect. Now we do this my way." I reserved a Georgia conference room and sent invites. Lucas, his parents, and Julia. If they wanted a scene, I'd give them a front row seat. The next day, I arrived early, waiting in silence. The table was bare. Just water bottles and tension thick enough to cut. They didn't keep me waiting. The door burst open with fury. Lucas barged in, grinding his teeth like he was chewing on steel. Beatrice clicked in behind him, Ethan already red with rage. Julia trailed behind, wary and silent. She offered me a small nod, a quiet truce. I didn't know if she came to mediate, witness, or just watch things burn. I leaned back like I had all the time in the world. "Welcome, shall we begin?" Lucas snapped, tension already boiling. "What kind of stunt is this?" I smiled, calm as ice. "You wanted dialogue, you've got it," Ethan huffed, already dismissing me. "This some kind of joke?" "Not funny, just overdue. You prey on every woman Lucas brings home, but you messed with the wrong one." Beatrice glared at me. "You walked out on this family." I couldn't help it. I let out a laugh. "I abandoned you. That's hilarious. You ghosted me for a week straight." Lucas let out a sharp sigh, his knuckles white on the chair. "You're making this bigger than it is." That was my breaking point. I slammed my palms against the table. Beatrice jumped. "I'm your wife," I said, voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Not a guest, not an outsider, and you let them treat me like air. And you," I pointed straight at. Lucas knew everything. This had happened before. You saw it coming and did nothing. The color drained from his face. Beatrice jumped in, voice shrill. "It's just how we do things," I snapped. "It's not tradition. It's control. It's a test. And you fail every woman who walks into this family," Lucas muttered. "You're overreacting. This isn't that serious." I slammed my phone down with Diana's texts glowing on the screen. "Take a look." He paused, reluctant. "Read every word," I growled. Lucas slowly lifted the phone, his thumb dragging down the screen. I watched his jaw clench tighter with every sentence he read. He tossed the phone onto the table like it stung him. "This doesn't prove anything," he snapped. Ethan folded his arms, scowling. "You're dragging up ancient history. That was a different time," he muttered. I faced Beatrice directly. "Really? Because last night you threatened me. You said Lucas would make things hard if I didn't return." Her lips clamped shut. Julia whistled under her breath. "Yikes." Lucas turned slowly toward his mom, narrowing his eyes. "You actually said that?" Beatrice's spine went rigid. I wanted her to see reason. She replied defensively. "Understand what?" Lucas shouted. "That you've done this before? That you pulled the same stunt on Vanessa?" Ethan shifted in his seat, looking uneasy. Beatrice gave him a sharp glare, but it was too late. Lucas's jaw flexed. Unbelievable. And there it was. The fracture in the facade, the slip in his blind devotion to his parents, the moment the truth hit him, that I was right all along. Lucas looked back at me slowly. For the first time, he looked shaken. I fixed my gaze on him, waiting to see if he'd finally say something that showed he understood. But instead, he just raked a hand through his hair and sighed. "I'll fix it." My heart sank. That was his first reaction. Not even a sorry, not a hint of remorse, just trying to patch the image. I leaned away from him and exhaled. "You still don't get it, do you?" He said nothing. I rose to my feet and adjusted my bag strap. "I'm not coming back." That jolted him. "Wait, what?" "It's over." His eyes went wide. "You're not joking?" Julia scoffed. "Seriously, how dense can you be?" Beatrice's tone turned shrill. "You're destroying your marriage over nothing." I slowly shook my head. "No, Beatrice, you're the one who threw it away. You and Ethan, and the way you twist love into punishment." Lucas just stood by and let it happen. Lucas reached out, but I pulled away. Wait, please. Let's talk. I raised my hand to stop him. No more, Lucas. You make excuses. You let them run your life, but I'm done listening. I picked up my phone and headed for the door. Lucas's voice cracked with desperation. Wait, where are you going? I turned and looked him dead in the eye. I'm done. I'm leaving. Beatrice let out a dismissive scoff. You can't walk out on a marriage like this. I met her gaze with a calm stare. Just watch. Then I walked out and never looked back. The divorce took 6 long months. Lucas tried it all, begging, guilt-tripping, calling me unreasonable, but I never wavered. Julia kept in touch. She said everything collapsed after I left. Lucas finally stood up to his parents, and it got ugly. Ethan called him spineless. Beatrice broke down, insisting I had turned him against them. For the first time, Lucas saw through them, but it didn't change a thing for me. I had already moved on. I returned to Georgia for good. I got a new place, reconnected with old friends, and started over. Months later, one night, a text lit up my screen. Lucas. I finally understand. I'm sorry. I stared at the screen, unmoving. Then I hit delete. Because for the first time in forever, I was truly free.